You are listening to the We Are Not Safe for Work podcast. Your hosts, Renee and Nadja, will dive into all the different reasons why some entrepreneurs become unemployable.
I can just feel my sinuses cracking as I move my head.
You can feel your sinuses cracking? That sounds horrifying, actually.
It is. It is.
Well, hello, Renee.
Hi.
Okay. How are you? So, other than your sinuses cracking.
Yeah, my sinuses cracking. Yeah, no, I'm good. Allergies in Texas, man. I'll tell you.
Gosh, I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
You know, totally random, but so every time we play that intro and I'm just like jamming along to it, it reminds me of there's this meme, or it's not a meme, it's like a funny video that makes fun of millennials and Gen Xers.
Okay.
Like you can tell a Gen X and a millennial because of the way that they dance to music. And it's like they'll do like the snapping, or they'll do the pointing, or they'll just move their shoulders.
Yeah.
Or they move side to side. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do all of the above.
That's funny.
Those are my moves.
That is, yeah, totally.
Which makes me very sad because I'm like, oh, we're so predictable. Like that makes me so sad.
I know. And it's weird that there's generational predictability.
I know.
I don't know.
And it's so accurate. Because you think like, you think, oh no, that's just a stereotype for like, I don't know, whatever. You think that it's an unrealistic stereotype, and then you watch the different generations and then you see the stereotypes for each generation, and it's like, no, they right on the nose. Great.
It's true. Okay. All right. Okay. So a few things. One, let's make a note of the topics that we want to cover.
Okay.
Because I feel like this could be a random show, even more than normal.
Sure.
So,
yes.
Okay. Let's do it in our chat. Okay. All right. Mac broken for Nadja. The madness of software updates.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. The captain's log.
Captain's log.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
These are all just out of context. Nadja help Renee with plant. Okay. I know. Nadja has no idea what any of this is.
All right.
Go ahead. You got anything to add?
No, the software updates thing is the biggest thing that I want to tackle.
Okay. I couldn't get my mother. Amanda stranded.
Oh my
gosh. My life with ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, let's talk about ChatGPT.
Interest RPM. My new note system. Okay. Where do you want to go first?
I mean, we could really just knock this out in order because I think they're all okay. So the title of this episode is that thing about time. And it looks like all of these are relevant for time. Yes. And to be like super meta about it, we're going to be focusing on time of this podcast episode. We're going to be cognizant of time during this episode.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. Are we on a time schedule?
No, we're not on a time schedule, but I feel like it's a good habit to get into.
I like good habits.
Yeah.
I like good habits. Okay.
All right.
Tell me about your computer.
Broken for Nadja.
Yeah.
It kind of ties in with the madness of software updates, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, the thing that frustrates me the most about it doesn't matter what operating system it is, whether you are in the Apple Universe, or if you are on Windows or whatever. But without fail, every time that there's some sort of software update, and especially if there is an OS upgrade, things just stop working. Like they become broken, disconnected. They don't work the way that they used to. And that's kind of like what I'm going through right now. Before we started recording, I was complaining to Renee that I was like, oh, random question. What operating system are you using?
Yeah. What version, right?
What
Yeah.
version? And so she's on, I think you're 2 versions behind what I'm on right now.
I don't know.
I think it might, like, because they have the
Let's
sub.
see. I'm on 15.3.2.
Oh, 15.3.2. Okay. And I'm on 15.4.1, I believe.
What are these points? What does this all mean? Do we know?
My understanding is when there's a major upgrade. So if you're going from like, because the operating system we're on is Sequoia, and then prior to Sequoia, it was something else. Totally random. Every time I see the word Sequoia, I think of the Friends episode where Ross and Rachel are going through like names for babies. And then
I don't remember that.
And then he's like, no, you're gonna want to name our baby something like Sequoia. And she's like, ooh. And he goes, veto.
That's funny. I hate this. I hate Sequoia. I struggle to say it. I don't like to say Sequoia. Sequoia,
Oh.
Sequoia, Sequoia.
Yeah, Sequoia.
No.
So Renee is a version behind. So like I said, the main number is the actual operating system. And then the second number, so if it's a 0.4, those are like major updates. So if there are big things that they're fixing, like big features that they're adding. And my understanding is if there's another point after that, those are like your security updates, and those are more frequent.
Okay.
So, if it's 0.1, then this is a security update that they have to push out. And then if it's 0.2, it's because here's another update that they have to push out to fix bugs or whatever. But the second point is features, and then the main number is version.
Okay.
I could be totally
that
wrong.
Makes a lot of sense. No, but it's very smart. And if it's totally made up,
I'm like, I just say it so confidently. I'm like, this is my understanding.
Absolutely.
And then you have actual developers that are like, not just an idiot. She doesn't know anything. And I will be the first to agree. Yeah, no, you're totally right. I don't know anything. I just confidently think that this is the story in my head, and I believe it. So I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So you and I are on different versions.
We're on different versions.
Asking because
I was asking because ever since I updated to whatever the little update is for like bug fixes and security updates, for some reason, my Mac, because I have a MacBook Pro laptop, it will not recognize my external SSD drive. So I have two external drives that are connected to my Mac. Look at that.
Yay.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
So I have 2 external drives connected to my Mac. One is it's a like an HDD, so it's the spinning disk, like, so it's kind of bigger and bulky. But it's a 2 terabyte, and that one is just for my Time Machine backups. Okay. So I have a dedicated drive for my Time Machine backups. It recognizes that. It sees it. I can pull up Finder and it says, hey, this is where your Time Machine is. Do you want to eject the disk or whatever? And I'm like, no, because I want my Time Machine backups to occur. But for some reason, my SSD, which is just for files, like large files, images, resources, I don't want it taking up space on my local hard drive. And I don't need to access it all the time. So I have a secondary external hard drive to put it on. And in Finder, it doesn't show up. When I touch it, it's warm, like it's being, accessed. It's being utilized. When I go into disk utility, it sees that it exists. It says, yes, I see that there are 2 external drives attached to your Mac, but for some reason, my SSD is unmounted. And every time I try to mount it, there's an error, like it does nothing. And then I try to, do the first aid and it's like, oh, well, we can't do the first aid because it's an unmounted drive. And I'm like, then mount it. I don't know what to do.
So a few questions. One, what version of MacBook Pro are you on? Is it older? I'm just curious. How old is your hard drive that's not mounting? And are there any software updates available? Are you for sure on the latest version? This would be a bad time to do an update.
Yeah. So the laptop that I have, it's from 2021.
Okay, so it's pretty new.
When I bought it in I bought it in 22, but it's the 2021 MacBook Pro.
Is it an M1?
Yes, it is an M1 Pro. Let's see. What was your second question? Oh, how old is my SSD? I bought it around the same time.
Okay.
Because I wanted an external SSD that I could carry with me because it's like the size of a credit card, so
that is incredible. Can you show it? Yeah. I know that's a thing now, but I just never want to stop marveling at this.
Yeah. And then this one is my, well, hang on. Before it gets mad that I've disconnected it without ejecting it first or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. This is, do you see look at the difference?
Yeah. And how much space is on each one?
So this one's a 2 terabyte.
Okay.
And this one's a 1.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, like this, I can put this in my purse and it doesn't make a difference. I put this in my purse. This is hefty. It's heavy, because it's got a lot of physical components. Mm-hmm. It's got the spinning discs and everything. Mm-hmm. And this one, I mean, if you've ever seen a solid state drive, have you ever seen one?
No.
It's basically like it looks like a chip.
Oh, so okay.
It's a flat chip. And
this felt like a trick question because you're holding one in your hand.
Well, all of this is just housing. The actual drive is like so much smaller.
I see. Okay.
So this is all just housing. But it's very thin. It is very lightweight. And then this one, after a while, like it's heavy. I mean, I could throw this at someone and knock them out.
Uh-oh, Lance, look out.
I mean, not that I would.
Right.
I'm just saying if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I'm just frustrated that, my convenient external drive is the one that's not being recognized because.
So how do you diagnose this problem?
Well, the first diagnosis is my first troubleshooting step whenever stuff like this happens is I go to forums like the Apple discussions or even Reddit, and then I try to see if anybody else has this complaint. And yes, they do.
They do? Okay.
Yeah. Like after an update, and it's not specific to this version that I'm currently on, which is the 15.4. It is just across the board. Like I updated my I did an update, not an upgrade, an update to my operating system. And now all of a sudden it does not recognize my external hard drive. So that's my first step of troubleshooting, just to make sure that I'm not unique in this scenario. And if I'm not, then I'm like, great. So that means that somewhere there's people that they either have the solution or they have gone through troubleshooting steps, and I can follow along to see if one of those troubleshooting steps will work for me. Because sometimes the solution that works for other people will not work for me.
Right. So have you started that process?
I sure have. I've done so many different things. I've tried to kill the app. One of the things that I haven't tried, which everybody, it's the consensus of like fixing it, is rolling back to an older version before the update. But like I was telling you before we started recording, I was a little hesitant about doing that because I would have to I would have to go back into my time machine. Like I'd have to go back to a version of my time machine and then kind of remember, did I do any like device critical updates
Yeah.
between that last backup and now? And am I going to have to do those again?
How often do you access that hard drive and what kind of stuff do you keep on it?
The time machine one?
No, the one that won't work.
Oh, the one that won't work. So that I access it pretty frequently.
Okay.
Because like I said, that's where I put like big files. For example, when I edit this,
Yeah.
when I download the MP4 file, I download it to the external so that I have it saved there. And then it doesn't take up more space on my local hard drive.
Right.
And then that's how yeah. And then I do my edits
So,
and then I'll save it on there too.
so that brings up two questions I want to ask. It's funny how this rabbit holes, but question one, I'm just saying them out loud because I'm not writing them down, although maybe I should be. When you edit, what software do you edit on? And two, how do you decide when to use a hard drive versus the cloud?
Oh, okay. So I edit my videos on, sometimes I do it on Premiere Pro,
Okay.
but Premiere Pro is super resource heavy.
Yeah.
And so if I'm just doing like, if I just want to do a really quick edit, for example, like I know I just need to clip like silences or whatever, then I'll use something called Wondershare Filmora.
Okay.
And I have like a perpetual license for it. So
Do
it is
you
not a subscription.
do you have to like with Final Cut Pro, you have to edit locally, right? So you
Sure. Yeah.
can't edit from an external hard drive. Is that true for those two softwares?
So for Filmora, it will create a local file that you're editing, but to save it, like if you're going to save the, like export the final file, you can choose where to send that to.
Yeah. Okay. I bring this up because one of the things that I've noticed or I've been thinking a lot about is whenever I buy a machine for the longest time now, trying to see how much hard drive space this machine has.
Mine has 500 gigs,
Where do I find that? Okay, there it is.
the
Mine
Apple.
does too.
Yeah.
Okay, so my Mac, I have a Mac Studio and 2022. It's funny, it tells you the year now. Maybe it's done that for a long time. I just never noticed. It has a
It has.
500 gig hard drive. If you're making videos like those music videos that I did for Cooking Chew, that kills my hard drive space so quickly.
Yeah.
And since you can only edit locally, it's easy to quickly run out of space on your hard drive.
Right. And so that's the reason I have an external that I put all my bigger files on so that I can save the hard drive space on my, like the local hard drive space for whenever I have to edit big video files that are going to be resource intensive. Because I don't know if your computer will do this to you or if you've experienced this, but you know, your computer will tell you don't have enough disk space.
Oh, yeah. When
that happens, then I'm like, son of a.
Yeah, it's bad. And it's a real problem. In my case, because I lost all of my footage a few years ago with my external hard drive when it died.
Ugh.
Yeah. And so that was a hard lesson learned. So I went down this rabbit hole. And I know we've talked about this before, but I think it's worth bringing up again. And that's why I asked the question, how do you decide when to use a hard drive versus the cloud?
Yeah. So typically, like I try to reserve the cloud. I'm a big, I don't know, I'm a big believer of redundancy. If any of you know me at all, that's my thing. So when I like to back things up to a physical, like a physical device first. So I will back it up to the physical external. And then from there, I back the external drive to the cloud. So usually I have it living in two different places. So I do have a drive. Ooh,
I loves your work, girl.
I just loves that
Yeah.
example. Um, I have it backed up to Dropbox, and then I have it backed up to Google Drive.
Yeah.
And the reason that I do multiple places is in the event that I can't access one, then I know I have two other places I can pull this from. So for, like my external right now, I think when I checked it, the last time I actually backed it up to Dropbox was back in January, but I did find um inside of Google Drive, I have a more recent backup of it. So again, if you don't turn on your automatic backups and you do things ad hoc, that's another layer of failure,
Hmm.
because if you don't back it up frequently, then what's the point, Because if I have to
Yeah.
reformat this device, if I have to reformat the external drive, like let's say it's something wrong with my external drive, it's got nothing to do with my computer, it's the external. If I have to reformat it, then I've just lost all the things that I've saved on it unless I've got it backed up somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Now, and you just said something interesting. Have you taken this external and put it into a different computer?
I have so I have put it into I have another Mac. So that one is like it's a 2014, 13. It's a very old Mac. And so the first thing that I had to do, going back to our theme of time, all of this
Yeah,
takes time.
so much time.
Troubleshooting takes time, and then like the rabbit holing takes time because you think, oh, I just need to unplug it from this computer and plug it into the other one. Okay, well, my other Mac, it is an older OS because there's a point where it could update, and then now it is no longer supported. Um, because
Mm,
of the motherboard that's on there and everything like that. But the thing is, all the connections for that specific laptop that I have are Thunderbolt connections or
yeah.
USB-A. So now I have to find an adapter because my external is a USB-C.
Yeah.
And not only do
God,
I need to find an adapter, I need to find an adapter that allows the exchange of, because there are some adapters that only do one-way traffic. I don't know if you
I
know
didn't
this.
know that.
Yes.
No. Oh
And there are some
God.
adapters that allow you to read write.
Why do we do this?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a really good question.
It's maddening. It is amazing how much time things like this suck up.
Yeah.
Just time is the worst thing. It's like I don't know. It's just
Yep.
it
And
makes me
and so
crazy.
your bullet point of the madness of software updates was very on point because
Oh, absolutely.
I am going
Because
mad.
software update it's interesting because software updates are what outdates usually seems to be what outdates equipment, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Um like
So,
Andy is still on her Pixel 6
uh-huh. Oh, I
and
loved my Pixel 6.
yeah, and she's not letting it go. She's like, I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. And I'm like, it's going to age you out. At some
Yeah.
point, it's just going to stop working. Our website looks horrific on it. She was looking at our new website design and she was like, oh my God, this is awful. I was like, no, it's not. She's like, what do you mean? Let me show you my phone. I'm like, your phone is trash.
Yeah.
And so now she realizes, oh crap, everything looks so bad on my phone. And it's all because of software updates, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and so that's the other thing. When you are talking about end of life for technology and electronics and stuff like that, I have I'm pointing, like you can see on the other desk that's on the other side of my
yeah.
desk. I have a Windows operating system or I have a Windows desktop over there, and it's on Windows 10 Pro. And it has so much space. I've got like, I don't know, 5 terabytes of space over there, which is fantastic, right?
That's a lot of space.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of space. But the thing is, I mean, it's not obsolete, but because of the motherboard that is on that desktop, the motherboard is not compatible with upgrading it to Windows 11. So I
Yeah,
have
that's
to
what I mean.
change my motherboard to allow it to update to Windows 11 because it doesn't fulfill the minimum requirements for the new operating system. But it works perfectly fine. Like on 10,
Sure.
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like the kids can play their Steam games on there. We can play The Sims. I have access to all of the Microsoft Office suite, so I can use Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all that stuff. So it functions like I need it to. I just can't upgrade to the newest operating system because the motherboard does not fulfill the minimum requirements.
And it's interesting that when you buy a Mac now, a Mac product, you have to think in advance. This
Right.
is how much hard drive space I want. This is how much RAM I want,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't just open it up anymore and change that stuff.
No. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I remember when I was working in the as as an IT admin in the imaging center, I could replace components. Like I could
Yeah.
open up a computer, whether it was a desktop or a laptop, I can open them up and then I can pop in a bigger hard drive. I can change the video card, like
Mhm.
I can increase the RAM myself.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's really difficult to do that on Macs because the appeal of a MacBook, right, is that it's very slim, it's very portable, but the sacrifice that you have to make with that is that everything is packed so tightly and specifically that, yeah, it has to be built with the right specifications. Otherwise, that you can't just like, pop this out and put this in, or at least not easily. And if there's an easy way to do it and I just don't know, then that's
I don't
also a
think there is.
possibility.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, there may be a way to do it, but I don't think it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking to myself now, next time I buy another Mac, which I think will be a few more years,
Yeah.
I'm it may naturally come out with extra more hard drive space, although 512 seems to be a consistent baseline, which has always been fine because I have migrated to the cloud. And so I don't keep anything on my hard drive at all.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to that, like, that again, that's a preference thing, right? Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
I like having my things locally available and accessible, only because I have been in the scenario where the internet is out, there's no connection, the offline access isn't the most recent version.
Yeah.
And then I'm just kind of like, well, what's the point of the cloud if I can't access it?
Yeah, I know. It's a trade-off for sure. Because here in this house, if the internet goes out, that's it.
Yeah.
It is so horrific.
Yep.
How internet dependent we are. I'll give you a perfect example. I cannot watch TV of any form without the internet. I don't have a DVD player anymore. That's not true. My Xbox has a DVD player, but I don't even know where the DVDs are. My books are Kindle, right?
Yeah.
So
every bed,
my bed. Let me tell you something. When the internet goes down, the worst thing is the bed, because it gets so cold. It becomes like sleeping on
really?
ice when the internet goes down.
Okay.
It is untenable. You cannot sleep on that bed if the internet is out.
Yeah.
Isn't that the dumbest, craziest thing to ever say out loud, by the way?
I mean, it still blows my mind that you have a bed that tells you things. It tells you your habits, it tells you what you should and shouldn't do. Yeah, like I'm just like, it's a bed. Like, you lay in it.
Yeah, I
What do you
know.
mean you need stats from your bed?
I know. Trust me, in some ways, I wish it gave me fewer stats because then it's just something else to obsess over.
Yeah.
But yeah, but on the flip side of all of that, the other nice thing is I work upstairs. I have a workstation upstairs that I do my normal daily work. But
Uh-huh.
whenever I'm doing recipe work, I need to be obviously downstairs in the kitchen, right? And
Right.
so I have a MacBook Pro that is, I think, also a 2021
Mhm.
um that is downstairs, that I keep downstairs. And so syncing between the cloud is required because I start bouncing around, right?
Right. Yeah.
I need my phone to update because I take pictures on my phone. So I need
Yeah.
my phone to update through the cloud to each device. And then I use my iPad to preview the photography because to see what it looks like in a larger format.
Yep.
So I need it to sync through the cloud.
Mhm.
And then maybe I need to send files back and forth. So the cloud is crucial to the work that I do. If I was
Yeah.
doing all that with external hard drives, I'd lose my mind. Um, so
Yeah, because then you'd have to carry it with you.
from
Well, and that's the other
machine to
thing.
machine.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Like, you have stationary, like, I work primarily off of my laptop, so I can
Yeah.
literally just pick it up and walk into the kitchen or
Yeah.
the bedroom or wherever it is I want to go.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier. And yeah, like the iMacs, they're pretty compact too, but like, who wants to disconnect all of that stuff and then
Oh,
plug it
yeah.
into another monitor, like.
Well, absolutely. And so that's the thing. I already carry a lot of shit up and down the stairs as it is. I could throw in a hard drive and I've thought about it, but like in my bedroom, I have a office set up with an old iMac Pro.
Mhm.
And so it's just so much easier to bounce around between these machines with the cloud.
Yeah.
And it syncs so fast. Now, if the internet goes down, the world's over. That's it.
Right.
But um
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean there's trade-offs for sure. But on a
And
normal day-to-day life, the cloud makes life easier. Now I back everything to iCloud. Everything is
uh-huh.
on iCloud. And that's where I do all my daily work.
Yeah.
But I also then push it all to Google Drive
Yep.
so that I have the dual too. Yeah. Um, it it adds up, by the way. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And in your case, if you're paying for your externals, you're paying for Google Drive and for Dropbox. I looked at Dropbox, but man, it adds up fast. How
It
much
does.
space do you use in each of these places, roughly?
Um, I mean, I can tell you. So with Dropbox, let's see. Let me see. Okay, so with Dropbox, okay, part of the reason why I have Dropbox, because I can give you a different resource too. There are lots of people that have, or there's the possibility of using something called Carbonite. And Carbonite is a backup software that it takes snapshots of your computer throughout the day. Like, you can set it to take a snapshot every 1 hour. It's essentially a time machine,
Yeah, I've
but
heard
in the
really good things
cloud.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can, if something were to happen to your workstation, you need to wipe it, you can like pull down the last Carbonite backup. So basically what I am doing is I'm just creating a full, like, all the files,
Mm.
applications, everything from my laptop, and backing it up to Dropbox and Google Drive. And then my external is strictly files. It's just like the, documents, images, video. That's all that's on that external, because I know I'm going to need to access it at some point in the future. I just don't want those giant files sitting on my hard drive. So Dropbox, I have 2 terabytes. Google Drive, oopsies. What do I have on Google Drive? Google Drive, I have 8 terabytes, but it's like it's shared between all of the users inside of my workspace.
Yeah, me too. I don't remember exactly my settings. Let me see if I can find it here.
Yeah. But like on Google Drive, just going to turn that off. On Google Drive, we've used up 542 gigs of 8 terabytes.
I'm just trying to look and see, where does it tell me that? I'm in my admin. Let's see.
Just me on my own, I 419 gigabytes of that is mine, of files that I own. And I'm like, that tracks.
Yeah.
Another thing with Google Workspace, so because I have a Google Pixel, my photos do not count towards the storage, I don't think. I have unlimited Google Photos storage because I have a Google Pixel phone.
Yeah, see, that's really nice.
It is really nice.
Really nice, because let me tell you why. Here's my Google Drive stats. My Google Drive, mine, because most things are under my name because, I'm the core owner. 316 gigs. Will has 3 gigs and Andy has 2 gigs. When I do a photo session, I take hundreds of photos.
Yeah.
And so all of those photos, and I'm on an iPhone, so all of those photos just take up outrageous amounts of space.
Yes, they sure do.
So that eats the bulk of my hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
Because that still stores locally, and I can't figure out a good way around that.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, when it comes to the reason that it needs to be local is because, especially for videos and pictures, like it has to render the file, so it needs to basically have a copy of whatever it is, the video or the image, so that you can see the preview.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I have 6 gig of photos on my hard drive right now.
Yeah.
It just adds up so much. So if I was on a Pixel phone, all of those photos would be free storage, and that would be nice, because this adds up. I mean, we pay a small little fortune every month for all of this stuff, and I keep trying to come up with ways to save money on this Google stuff. But no, I can't. I've kind of, it's just expensive.
No, it is. It is. And I mean, it all comes back to the complaint that I have specifically on how everything is very, how can we get more money out of the consumers, right? Because if Adobe would allow me to just buy the, Premiere Pro, like, let me buy the current version of Premiere Pro, and I will use that until I need whatever features you have on the newest version. Like, don't rope me into a freaking subscription.
Oh, I know.
Because everything is a subscription now.
Everything,
like, you own nothing.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
It is.
I don't know if you guys can tell. It's a big pet peeve of mine. If you're gonna rope me, I
go through every once in a while, sit down and try to work it out, and it's just maddening.
Yeah.
And now with Google, and here's the other thing too, on the same thing, slight sideways tangent, but this is how I got here with Google. So the better WordPress host companies these days don't also do email. So you have to handle your email in a different way for a lot of high-end hosting.
Okay.
So yeah, which is smart, by the way. And I think it's the right thing for hosting companies to do.
Sure.
But the problem is it means that you have to do your email in a different way. And so the most complicated setup and the easiest running method are not the same thing. So it's complicated to set it up, but setting it up through Gmail is the best way whenever you're just operating in your life. So if you set it up through Google domain, or not Google domains, but Google Business Admin,
Yeah.
it's the best way to run your email in the long run, in my
Okay.
opinion. And now after, owning a website company, working with Fred again last year, like I did, and dealing with literally 1,000 clients in email, I stand beside that as the truth. But it's expensive.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like much money until you pay it for email after email after email. So in our case, I think I have a total of like 7 emails that I pay for every month.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah.
I know. And that's like $12 an email. So I'm paying Google like $70 a month or something stupid.
Yeah.
For all of these accounts. Now, on the plus side, you get storage space. But then also because I do the iCloud, I pay for the iCloud storage. So just all of this storage is ridiculous. So I thought to myself last year, well, what if I went and got an external hard drive? And then I thought through all of that. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Sometimes it's just the cost of doing business. But I agree with you. There was a time, as a matter of fact, I was going through some old tech drawers the other day and I found an old box of Adobe.
Yeah.
Back when you could buy it,
Yes.
And I agree. I hate that we pay for Adobe Cloud when we use one piece of it, but we have to pay for the whole damn thing.
Yeah, because my big thing is it's not even Premiere Pro. The thing that I'm most upset about, and it's so stupid, is Acrobat.
Yes, that's why we have
a freaking PDF viewer where if I wanted to combine PDF files easily, like let me buy it for $200-$300 and then I'll just use that forever. Because how often are you using all the additional features of Adobe Acrobat?
Yeah, Andy has to have it because of her job. So as an editor, most everything is edited in Adobe Acrobat Pro. Yeah. She has to have it. But so as a result, we pay that for, I think it's $46 a month we pay for Adobe.
I don't know.
I think it's that. I don't even know for sure. I'd have to look, but that feels right. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
That
just
feels
so
right.
She can have, yeah. So just so she can have that one piece of software. So then sometimes because we have it, I'll be like, okay, let me open up Photoshop and do something. But I don't need Photoshop anymore. Now there was a time when we did all of our work on Photoshop, but now Canva is great. And anyway, now we're just bitching. Okay.
So that's the madness of software updates. Did you want to go into the captain's log? Because I'm intrigued. You called it the captain's log, and I think Lance is watching Star Trek.
Okay, this is a long conversation. So just so you know, or it can be short. It's up to everybody. And it's just us here, so up to us. Okay. So as you know, I'm obsessed with note-taking.
Yeah.
And it has last year, this may be a repeat story, but it'll help, I think, to get into this. Last year, we were on vacation and one of our primary domains, Not Cooking Chew, we lost the email for a brief time. We couldn't get into the email for work for Ralph's Media. It was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's crucial and important. And I realized that I was sitting in a hotel room in Kansas desperately trying to find my login information and all the details of where's this domain, where's this email.
Yeah.
Right. And trying to get all of that resolved so that I could get into this email to get this very important piece of data that I needed. And I realized that my life was a mess. Even though I'm obsessed with note taking, I have notepads and I have calendars and I have all this stuff, and all these pieces of software that I keep testing out. But my God, what a mess. So, it was a high stress situation because it was urgent.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I have to fix this. So I've been on a mission to figure out a better solution. Yeah. And I started talking to ChatGPT because I use ChatGPT. I talk to ChatGPT now as if it is just sitting here as my coworker.
I have started doing that too. So I guess that kind of goes like the captain's log. Does it tie in with my life with ChatGPT? A little bit? Okay.
A little bit.
Yes.
So,
okay. So
I started talking.
Have also been doing that. And I have been using, because I know you have the app on your phone.
Yes.
So I now have the app on my phone, and I have found myself going to my ChatGPT. By the way, mine is really sassy. Is yours?
Yes.
Like she's super sarcastic. The other day I was like, are you going to actually answer my questions, or are you just going to sass me the whole time? And she responded with something like, ugh, here's another person. And I was like, what?
Wow. No, mine is super just hilarious. As far as over the top.
We picked the sarcastic, like
yeah, mine is super over the top, positive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like everybody is going to walk away from their experiences after a couple of years. Everybody's going to have this massive ego, I feel.
Yeah. No, so we purposefully chose the voice and personality of the sassy one, the sarcastic one, because I feel like it humbles us. Like she knocks us down.
Maybe I should do that because well, hold on. I'm going to do a thing live right now.
Okay.
Hi there. I am on a podcast right now. And I want to summarize this new note-taking system for the audience. Can you give me the three main pieces in a quick summary that I can share? Okay. Okay, so that's what I typed.
And what did it say?
Okay, here it goes. It's typing now. My note-taking system has three main parts. One, Apple Notes is my second brain. This is where I organize everything: blog ideas, recipes, reference notes, checklists, and digital systems. I use simple links, tags, and hubs to keep it all connected and searchable. Number two, Paper Planner. This is my hands. This is my action space where I write down to-dos, reminders, time blocks, what needs to happen each day. It keeps me grounded and out of my head. Number three, my paper journal, which is my second heart. This is where I log what happened. I call it my captain's log and how it felt. It holds both business changes and personal reflections, things that are too small for a blog post, but too important to forget. It's simple, low tech, and flexible, and it works with how my brain actually functions. Okay. So this has been quite the experience. What happened is Apple Notes late last year did a major update that changed, in my opinion, note taking in a way that people just don't quite grasp.
Oh, Apple Notes. Okay, yeah. And it turned it into a journal, right?
Well, what it did is you can now do internal linking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let me see real quick. Okay. There's nothing on this that I'm going to share my screen and show you what I mean.
Okay.
Okay. And this is not even about my captain's log yet, but I want to tie this
Oh
in.
my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So this is my Apple Notes. Okay.
Oh, how cute.
I know. So what I did was I created myself a home note, and this is my hub for all things life. So I have a work and blog and active projects, upcoming projects, archived projects, a work hub, work resources, um, more just general hubs that kind of cross over, home and life. And I'm going to show you one of the home and life ones. So what happens is now you can link to notes, which is what Notion and all these other softwares did.
Okay.
Was brought it all together where everything became linkable. And now Apple Notes does this really, really well. And I'm going to show you an example because one of my obsessions is documenting where things are at in the house. And so this is my storage and inventory hub where I'm starting to document. I've only done Christmas so far, but if you notice, I clicked on that link and it opened up this Apple Note. And then here we go. I'm going to go to under seasonal decor. I have Christmas decoration bins. So I open that up and I have the storage location, which is upstairs, west room. I know. But in the black bin, these are the things that are in the black bin. And here are the, I don't think it opened up, but these are pictures. When you click on it, it opens the pictures up into another window. So you're not gonna be able to see it. But it's 3 pictures of the black bin because I stack things on top of each other.
Yeah.
So I showed what's in the black bin. Here's the clear green bin and everything that's in that bin, and the light blue bin, and this is everything that's in that bin. So let me just so you guys can see.
Oh.
So then I put those pictures in there.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to go back to my home, I just click on the home link and it takes me. This is a brand new part of Apple Notes that's never been done before. But it changes the game because Apple Notes is free. All of this syncs naturally through iCloud on all your devices. So I can take the pictures on my phone, then come to my Apple Notes and upload it here. Or I can run downstairs, or I can look on my iPad and see all of this, and it all just syncs perfectly. So now anything I want to do, I just put in here. Like if I'm trying to document a process, this is my how-to central. So anything that is a how-to now goes in here. So like how to make a smart folder. This is how you do that. And this is working really, really well. And it's wonderful. But it's not the same thing as tracking what you accomplished in a day, because there are things that you want to measure, things that, like, for example, I just did this Facebook ad test where I was doing a Facebook ad and wanted to test this one particular thing, right? And I needed to keep track of daily stats. And I did eventually put all of it in my Apple Notes system. But I realized there are other things. And so the more that I talked to Chad about this, we came up with the idea of a captain's log, because he said, well, a captain of a ship logs just factual things that happened, and they become highly valuable over a span of time. People can go backwards and reference it. Like I remember watching an episode of Deadliest Catch, and this one captain was talking about referencing previous captain's captain log. And it's funny because in my chat with Chad, he brought up, it's just like on Starship Enterprise. They the captain logs his day, and then later they can reference those things. So I started doing this captain's log, and it's been such an interesting experience because I wasn't tracking this kind of random stuff on
Yeah.
an ongoing basis. And so now I can track these things. I just write down little factoids, and I can go back to a previous day and see something that happened or reference a stat very easily. And it's just been very interesting.
So I think it's intriguing, like what you've done with the Apple Notes features, because that is not something that you like. It's not a Google Doc, meaning you have to have a Google account
Right.
in the cloud to be able to do that. You know, like that's just part of your Apple universe.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you need an Apple account to be able to use it, and then you would need Apple devices in order
Mhm.
to access
Yeah,
it.
you
But I
do
mean,
definitely
just
have all of that.
yeah. But yeah, that's really interesting that you've done it that way, because even if you do not have the internet, right?
Yeah.
As long as it has synced
Then you're good to
before,
go.
yeah, before you lost the internet connection or whatever, it's all
Yeah.
there on your device,
Right. Right.
which is
And
great. Because with
one of
Google,
the
you
go
still
ahead.
need access to the internet for it.
Yeah, and one of the struggles that when we were dealing with, we were trying to figure this out because there are certain, pieces of information that we need, Andy and I need to share, and she's
Hmm.
on an Android phone, but all of her other devices are Apple.
Yep.
But yeah, so it was like we had to really think through what makes sense here, because
Hmm.
before we were doing Evernote, but Evernote raised their prices, and I was like, I just am, to your point earlier, I am sick and tired of subscriptions. And
Yes.
Evernote was buggy, and just it still didn't have the internal linking factor, which is how I ended up on Notion. And
Yeah.
but Notion was annoying on a phone, just
Oh,
awful.
was it?
And yeah, and also another subscription. Apple Notes is free if you have an Apple device.
Yeah.
Full stop. There's no limits, there's no storage limits. It is just your thing. And so this has just made life so much easier.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, so kind of stuff that I'm writing in my let's see. Kind of stuff that I'm writing in my captain's journal. Um I think So I got a sleep score of 94. I forgot to set up the coffee. I wrote down what my revenue was for the day. Um, I wrote down a new process that I'm starting. And also the interesting thing, it's called Pinterest Daily Old Pin Process, is what
Hmm.
we called it. But the interesting thing is I wrote down my goal, but then I wrote down the title of the Apple note for it
Okay.
so that I wouldn't forget. Because if I have hundreds of notes. Um, I wrote down that we went on a dog walk and what the weather was like and how the dogs behaved. I wrote down that Amanda was flying home from Mexico. Um, I wrote down what I did with ChatGPT that day. I wrote down my key metrics for the day. I wrote down
Gosh, you did so much.
I know. Um I wrote down what I watched on TV, just little factoids. Like
Yeah.
I made some news about, or I made some notes about the news, just things that stood out to me. Um and then I wrote down something that I ate because it was just really good.
Hmm.
And then I also wrote down some recent wins that we had in our life.
Yeah.
And like last night I watched Reacher. Um and then I made a note about Amanda's flight getting rerouted. Just stuff like that, just little things. It's not exactly journal. I know it sounds like journaling, but it's not journaling because Andy and I talked a lot about this over the weekend.
Uh-huh.
A captain's log is a record of things that happened. A journal is how you felt about what happened.
Okay. Yeah, there is a difference. You're right.
There is a difference. And so this is not a journal. This is a log of events.
It's a captain's log.
Yeah.
Okay. And that makes total sense.
Yeah. It does. But the interesting thing about it, so all of this is cool, but what it has done for me is something that I never, and I'm kind of pissed off about it,
Okay.
but it is making me think differently about everything. Because when you take the time to sit down, what pisses me off is I've heard this forever, that if you take the time to journal or write down what you've done in a day, it makes you slow down and analyze everything. So it has made me slow down and analyze why everything is the way it is. And here's what I mean.
Okay.
So here's how many people opened my newsletter today. Here's how many people unsubscribed from my newsletter today. And you write that out. And then you start looking at it and you're like, why? Why did that happen? Why was the newsletter better yesterday, but not as good today, or vice versa? Right. What could I do to make the newsletter better? And then if you write down next to that how much you made on each day on the newsletter, it impacts you because you're like, oh, I made 30% more yesterday than I did today. Why? Right. Which articles were the top articles that made the most amount of money today?
Mm-hmm.
Why did those articles make more money? I mean, it got down to the point where when I started writing all of this down and slowing down to really think, just really look at specifics on things. And this is just, I'm just into revenue right now. But at one point I emailed Mediavine and I was like, I've caught something here. Why is this thing getting this revenue and this thing is getting this revenue? What's happening here? Why is there so much of a difference?
Right.
And they were like, oh, well, that's a great question. And I'm like, thank you. And so then they dug into it. And then they were like, well, let's change this and this and this. And then literally the next day I saw an increase in revenue, you know? But if you don't take the time to think about the serious details, then you miss things.
Yeah.
But also, it makes everything go so much slower. So I'm going so much slower since I started doing this, but I'm already seeing things to improve, micro improvements, like put the emoji here versus here.
Right.
You know?
Well, I think there's a reframe there. It's not necessarily that you're going so much slower. It's that you're just being way more intentional with your decisions and what you're doing, because reflection has become a practice.
Yeah.
Or practicing reflection has become a habit is really what it is. So, I mean, it may feel like it is a slower process, but isn't that, like, when you do things with intention, it's a purposeful decision and choice, and that does require thought and reflection and time. Because if you just do things like all willy-nilly by the seat of your pants kind of thing, I mean, that'll work for a while.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And you start noticing areas of improvement, right?
Yeah.
I know that Tim Ferriss is so famous for this because he has just countless journals where he just literally documents everything about his day, and then he can go back over time and look at, why did this happen here? Well, I can see what I did, you know, because sometimes you don't know the impact of something until later. Right. But if you don't document it, then you can't measure it. Right.
Yeah.
So, and this is not new information. We've heard this our whole lives. This is the reason that a captain's journal exists. Right. But
so with your captain's log, are you intentionally not bringing emotion into it? It's just a fact.
Yes.
Documentation, and that's all it is.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is not easy.
I was gonna say that would be really hard for me, because I like to put I feel or this made me feel.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because Andy and I have been reading it together at night, and we skipped a couple of days just because of whatever. And so she went back and was reading through it, and she was like, "You put how you felt about this in here," and I was like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Remember not to do that because the moment you start putting emotion in it, then it's no longer a measurable device."
Yeah. I love this. I'm going to start doing that like today. Well, because I love my Hobonichi Techno planner, because every single day is a page, like a full page. So it's
Yeah.
not like your typical planners where you have like the 1 week view on 2 pages, but you've got like just a small section
Yeah.
to fill things
Yeah.
in. And what I had been doing is kind of, I had been using it like in a journaling aspect, like I would print pictures of if there was some sort of activity that day that I was like, oh, this was so much fun and I want to remember it. So I'll
Yeah.
print a picture from it and I'll put it in there. And some days it's very journally where it's like, oh, we had this activity with the kids and it was so much fun. They learned so much, blah, blah, blah. And then there are other days where it's literally a bullet point list of these are the things that I need to get done, and then I'm crossing them off. So it's a very hybrid.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because we talked about I mentioned earlier how I'm carrying shit downstairs like crazy.
Yeah.
So I have my planner, right?
Yeah.
I think you can see it. This is the monthly
Yeah.
part, and then God only knows what you're gonna see by seeing this, but this is the weekly part, right?
Uh-huh.
So the whole week is across 2 pages.
Right.
So I keep feeling tempted to put some kind of to do in my captain's log, but
Yeah.
a captain's log does not have to dos. To
Oh,
dos
okay.
go in a calendar. In this
Okay.
case,
Yes.
in this
Yep.
case, you can have a to do app, and that's totally cool.
Yeah.
Whatever, wherever you want to keep your to dos. But I think having separate places for different things is because my Apple Notes is for long-term reference. For example, it's got tutorials like how to make a smart folder, right?
Mhm.
But I'm creating this reference library that has, for example, all the notes, the final notes on my Facebook ad test. It's got notes from a ConvertKit food blogger case study. It's got my notes on thinking through when to upgrade my ConvertKit account. I keep forgetting the answer to certain things about ConvertKit, so I wrote down the answer so that in the future I don't have to research them again.
Yeah.
And so it's just like that conversation that I had with Mediavine that I told you about.
Yeah.
All my notes are now in my reference library so that I can reference them again in the future. And then my how to central is where I have anything that I've learned how to do this week. And it's funny because this came really in handy because I told, this is not going to make any sense to anyone unless they're on Mediavine, but one of the things Mediavine recommended that I do is change my adhesion color because I had recently changed my theme,
Yeah.
my WordPress theme. And so I made notes on how to change it. And then I told someone that, and they were like, how do you do that? And I said, well, let me tell you, here's how you do it. Cause I had written it down and I knew where I had written it down for once, for the love of God. But a couple of things, and I wanted to bring this up to you. I don't know if you can see this, but I have smears all over my finger. My pins are smearing in my captain's log.
Oh no.
I know. And so I don't know why. These are Pilot G2s that I'm using. What kind of pins do you use in your planners? Huh?
It could be the paper that's in your captain's log.
Could be. I don't know.
Well, because so these are my favorite pens. They're Pilot Dr. Grips.
I
have like 5 of these. So I have this one at my desk. There's one in my purse. There's one in my backpack. There's one in my laptop bag. There's one that's always like clipped to my planner I think I have one in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Kind of everywhere. But I love them because they're thicker, and then they have like a, what is it? It's a the Dr. Grips are gravity pens, so they're weighted. They have
Oh,
weight to them.
yeah.
So when I write, I don't know, it's just super comfortable for me. Um, but they are gel, like it's a ballpoint, but it writes like a gel, so it's very smooth.
Hold on. Hold on. This is my bag that I
Ooh,
now
super
carry all
cute. I
my
love the
stuff.
color.
Yeah. Um, here it is.
I do also
My Eras bag that Andy got me.
I have a
These,
lot of colored pens and highlighters that I use inside of my planner. And the thing that I love specifically about that planner, even though it's a little on the pricier side because it's a Japanese brand,
yeah, I hear
is
a lot
it
about
doesn't
them.
smear. So
That's
even with my
nice.
highlighters, with my the different like gel pens, colored gel pens that I use and things like that, it won't smear.
That's nice because these are Pilot G2 Premium Gel Roller.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
Yeah, they're really nice. But I've just been noticing that it's. I wondered if it is the paper. I think you might be right because um I bought this.
Yeah, because look, I have these. They're the Pilot G2, but they're purple.
Okay, yeah,
I love stationery.
I know you do. That's why I wanted to ask you. Um, the other thing is, I now really want because I'm not smart. I said I'm never going to journal again, and we got rid of all of my stickers.
Oh
And so
no.
now I'm running out of stickers. And so I need some new little dot stickers.
Well, you can find those. Like I
I was
have,
curious if you had any recommendations.
I was gonna say I have booklets of stickers. Like, so these are from the Happy Planner, which you can get at like Michael's and stuff like that. But I mean, they're literal like booklets of just
Okay. Yeah.
stickers.
Yeah. Okay.
Like these are connect with, and these are reconnect with, and then these are just like, oh, these are no electronic stickers.
Oh,
Like
okay. That's
disconnect. It's a
cute.
disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I collect these because I'll see some, like I'll see the booklet and then it has different types of stickers that I'm like, "Ooh, those are super cute. I'm just going to buy the whole booklet."
Yeah. That's great.
So, Happy Planner.
So you're going to try this captain's log?
I'm going to start my captain's log today.
I'm so excited.
I am excited too.
I love it. It has been so good for me. I'm just really surprised at how it's impacting things that I am working on already. I'm really
Yeah.
surprised. Um, okay. Um,
Tell me about your plant.
oh, okay. Okay.
What's going on with that?
This is the plant that Naja got me. This is my only plant, and it is not doing well.
Oh, it's all curled up.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see in there.
Yeah.
So, it's very concave now,
Uh-huh.
and lots of parts in the middle. Let's see if you can see that are gone. They look like
Yeah.
they died. So I don't know what to do about that.
It it may just be is the soil wet or is it very dry?
But it's moist. It's moist. But
It
I got
could,
new soil.
oh, okay. I was gonna say the first thing is repot because then you can take a look at the health of the roots.
Okay.
Though that specific plant has a tendency to get root rot,
Oh,
which is when the soil is too wet for it.
well, that's definitely not the case. I think because I forgot to water it for a long time.
Oh, okay. So it's also possible that the soil has become hydrophobic.
What does that mean?
It just means that when you water it, it's actually not, the water's not soaking through all of it because there's going to be parts of the soil that are hydrophobic, which means that it repels water. It won't absorb the water.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
So even though you're watering it, the water is not actually making it to the roots
So
because
I was
it's
just
just
going to
going
put more
straight through.
soil just on top.
Hmm.
Do you think I should pull it out of the thing?
You can poke it. So I have a skewer.
Okay.
I'll grab a skewer and I'll stab the soil
Oh,
and I'll
okay.
just aggressively stab it. And then when I water it, especially if the soil has become hydrophobic, so again, it takes time.
Yeah.
It's time to do this. Um, I will sit the pot inside of a bowl, or I'll fill the sink up with water and then I'll sit the pot inside and then just let it like soak the water for 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. So I didn't realize this, but I now see it's two parts.
Yeah,
Oh,
because you want a pot that allows drainage of water so that it doesn't suffer from root rot.
okay. Okay. Um, so I'll poke it
Yeah,
and
just stab
then
it
I'll
with
put,
skewer.
yeah, and then put, now what about the dead parts in the middle? Do you think they'll come back?
You can pull, see, like if you pull on it and it just comes out, then it's dead. It has no roots.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I pull it. I don't know if you can see this, but um, it has lots of root.
Yeah, the roots look a little brown though.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pull those dead parts out
Yeah.
and then poke it and then put some more soil. This is the only plant I have, and I loved having it. And so I really wanted to
You've had
not
it for a
die.
while.
Yeah, I know. I really want to get another plant. I think
Yeah.
now I want to try that. So
You
far
know what you
Andy and
need?
I
You
have,
need a pothos.
I think you just said I need to go to the Poconos, and I agree.
You need a pothos plant. And the reason I'm saying you need a pothos plant is because they're super resilient, because there have been times where I have forgotten to water my pothos like a month or maybe even two. And then it looks really, really sad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I killed it. And so I'll water it and then just kind of baby it for a couple of weeks and then it bounces back. Um,
Mm,
they can
okay.
withstand quite a bit of abuse.
Can you see that plant back there?
Yeah,
That's Andy's plant. I bought that plant for her for Valentine's Day a
it's
couple
so
of years ago.
pretty.
Yeah. And so this is my plant, and that's
What
Andy's
kind of
plant.
plant is the other one?
I don't know. We call it Pinky.
Is it real?
Yeah. Yeah, it's real, but it's self-watering.
Oh,
So
okay.
here, let me show you.
So you just pour the water in the bottom or something?
Um, there's this little, I don't know if we can.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so what it's
So
doing
every
is
once in a while,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah, what it's doing is what I've described to you, which is the bottom watering. And that is you put the water in and then it'll soak up water from the bottom
Mm,
to the
mm-hmm.
top and it takes what it needs.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna do that. That's gonna be good.
I'll bring you a
Uh,
pothos the next time.
okay. You do that.
Well, the
That'll
great
be
thing about
great.
pothos too is you can propagate it. So like if it's starting to look really bad, you can chop the pieces that are still really healthy
Uh-huh.
and then you can stick that in water. It'll start growing roots and then you can
Oh,
plant it.
that's cool. That's cool. It's funny because Andy and I are so bad at this, but Amanda has plants everywhere. She's just so good at growing plants.
Oh,
And so that's been fun when we go see her. Okay, so I'm gonna report back on that.
great.
Yeah.
All right. So
Um,
what's this thing about you couldn't get your mother and then Amanda stranded? Are they connected or are they two
no,
different
no,
things?
two
They're
different
two
things.
different things. Okay.
So I time has no meaning in my life. Let me just say that up front. I am working more often than not 7 days a week. And if that offends you, I understand, and that's okay. But it makes me happy. And I love my work. But right now we're working because our blog tanked, as you guys know. If you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, you know that I had a lot of traffic and now it's gone. And so I'm working really hard and days just fly into each other. And it's a wonderful time and a wonderful experience to try to have the opportunity to bring your business back. But it also consumes my brain. And so sometimes I go periods. I'm a terrible friend and a terrible daughter. And here's what I mean by that. I can go long periods of time forgetting to reach out to anyone because I'm so focused.
Sure.
Because I have to prioritize walking the dogs, walking myself, because
right.
we have the dog walk, we have the grown-up walk where the
Yeah.
dogs are highly offended by those. You know, you have to eat, you have to sleep. So time just is a thing. So every day I wake up and I think to myself, oh my God, I need to text my mom today. And then I forget. Or I text her and she's busy too, because thank God she has a very active life as a retired woman. And they're always doing something, literally always doing something. But if I text my mom, she always texts me right back. And so she's highly responsive. Well, yesterday I couldn't get my mom. And I was like, that's weird. Then this morning I got up, texted my mom again after texting her yesterday a couple of times, heard nothing, called my mom, nothing. Well, that's terrifying. And so finally I call her boyfriend that she lives with, and which old people living together is the cutest thing ever. But he answers the phone right away, and I hear my mom in the background come running over. Renee, I'm really sorry. And I could hear her saying that. And she's like, I've just been gardening so much, and I left my phone in the house, and I kept forgetting to text you back. And I'm like, okay. But it's funny because time, when you're sucked into your computer or you're sucked into your work, if you're a writer, I think writers go through this too. Time can just fly. And then suddenly you look up and you're like, whoa, what day is it? We were just talking about this last night because you said that Lance thought it was Thursday, I think.
Yeah, it was a Monday and he kept thinking it was Wednesday or it was Tuesday. I don't know. It was just
yeah. I go through that too. And so anyway, I couldn't get a hold of my mother, and it was just a good reminder to try to stay a little more present throughout the day. So I'm going to try to do better at that. Because I think as a digital entrepreneur, it's really easy to lose track.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, because your daughter's grown,
yes.
You know, like that's another element, because my kids are still very dependent on us.
Yes.
And so it almost forces us to keep in contact with the outside world.
Yeah.
You know, because I have to reach out to other parents, or I have to reach out to, you know, like their friends or whatever, or even my parents, because my mom helps so much with the kids.
Yeah, it does change things. I think about that because, man, when we dropped her off at college, I feel that like it was yesterday because it was such a switch.
You just reminded me that I do need to reach out to my mom real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But it was just like such a switch of suddenly you don't have to talk to as many people every day, and you're not trying to handle things for your kid. I'll tell you the other switch, which you'll go through this soon enough, was when she started driving.
Oh, yeah.
Because one day we had to drive her everywhere and take her to all her activities, and next day she didn't need any of that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was weird.
I mean,
I saw the look on your face because it's a strange thought, right?
It is a strange thought. Well, and also I'm like, is that going to happen like all at once for us? Because like once one starts driving, does that mean that she will be driving the other one around too?
See, I don't know.
I think in a way, not necessarily, because they won't be going to the same place.
The same stuff. That's right. Yeah. Probably not. For you, that will transition.
Might take a little longer.
Yeah.
Or it might be an easier transition.
Or you'll just go through it twice.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because if one of them, because part of me is like, okay, if one of them is able to get themselves to the activity, then that's fantastic. Then I only have to focus on one, like getting
Yeah.
one of them to
Yeah.
their appropriate activity.
Yeah.
I think there's just going to be a delay.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a delay. Um, but with us, we only had one kid. So it was like a switch. Which
Yeah.
it's funny because on one hand I was like, oh, thank God, because every morning Andy drove Amanda to school most days,
Hmm.
and I picked her up. And so every morning she was yelling at Andy, like, we gotta hurry, we gotta hurry, we're gonna be late, we're gonna be late. And then one day she just was going to school, and on one hand you're like, oh, thank God, and then on the other hand you're like, oh, another milestone is gone.
Yeah.
So,
I
um,
will say that there is a like we've had a little bit of that when the kids started taking the bus
oh yeah,
because, like we would still walk them to the bus and then when the bus would drop them off, we'd wait for them at the bus stop. But now they're like, "Oh, well, I can just walk back from the bus by myself." And the first time it was like, "Oh, great." And then like in the same instance of, "Oh, great," it was like, "Well, what do I do?"
right, yeah. And suddenly, when you have all this extra time, you're like, wait, this is a relief. Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's not. Yeah, um, yeah. So, tell me about how you have been. Oh, I was going to talk about Amanda being stranded. This is a very quick story, but for the first time in parenting, in our lives and Amanda's life too, um, she traveled out of country, and it was just to Mexico, but
Mhm.
still, that was nerve wracking for us, and we didn't like it. But she doesn't care what we like anymore. Um, it's not relevant. She was going there for a friend's wedding with a bunch of friends. But
Sure.
regardless, last night she was flying home to Denver, and she texted us and said, "Well," because she was texting us every step of the way, so she's being good. But as far as like when she was in Mexico, I'm headed to the airport. I'm at the airport. I'm through security. I'm on the plane.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really nice. But anyway, she texted us and she was in Grand Rapids, Grand Junction, something grand in Colorado. And I'm like, why are you there? And
Okay.
she's like, well, weather, the weather was bad in Denver, so they diverted us, but they wouldn't let them off the plane because it was an international flight. So she had to spend hours and hours and hours just sitting on the plane waiting for the weather to get better before they could go
Okay.
on to Denver. So she got home at like 11:30 last night. Yeah. As a parent, you're like, can my kid just get home? Can my kid
Yeah.
just get home? You know? Um, but yeah.
Oh
So
my goodness.
I know that's just life. Just little life stuff to throw into the mix here.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me about your life with Chat GPT.
Oh, well, I mean, like I said, recently I've been using it way more frequently, just to ask it questions, to research things for me. Um, so I do have, like, I went ahead and signed up for the pro version, I guess.
The $20
Um,
one?
yeah, because I
Okay.
there were a couple of things that I needed to do, and I needed no limits on the number of files I could upload.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, I'll just do it for a month. Like I'll go ahead and sign up for it because this is worth it to me to pay for it." But but now that I have the pro version, I'm like, "Okay, I need to continue using it because they have a research GPT, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we recently used it for roofing. There we go. We recently used it for roofing research. So, like, what is the difference
Oh yeah.
between this type of shingle and this type of shingle, specifically in Houston and the weather fluctuations that we experience here in Houston. And so it took a while, but it like created this whole document that like gave the pros and cons and then like provided the resources or the sources that it got that information from. It put it into a chart so that you could see all of the features, and then here's the one type and here's the other type and the differences between the two. And I was like, see, normally this kind of stuff, like I would be writing it down on a piece of paper, like as I'm researching it, I'd be like reading, and it made it so convenient that it compiled all of the information I was looking for, and all I had to do was like read through it and then even click on the sources just to, double
Yeah,
check
be sure
that.
you do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that was really great. And yeah, like I've realized that I really enjoy Chat GPT talking back to me.
Yeah, that's funny. I here's a little tip for you if you're new to the pro version. I or no, I'm on the plus, and then the pro is 200. That's it. I'm
Oh,
trying.
okay, then it's the plus. No, I'm on the
Yeah.
plus. I did
Okay.
not do, I no.
Have you played with projects yet?
N- yes. So I have put together a project which has, like, I put all the different chats that I have done in the past specific to that topic.
Yes, I love that.
And then I can upload the files. That's part of what I was doing. I was like, I need to be able to upload more than, what's your limit? Like 4 files or something
I
like
don't even
that.
know. Yeah.
Whatever the limit was, I surpassed it, and it kept saying you have to upgrade in order to upload more files. And I was like, sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's worth the money for
No,
sure.
it totally was, because one of the things I was able to get it to do was I uploaded 4 different Excel spreadsheets. So 4 different Excel spreadsheets that it had to reference to compile, or so 4 different Excel spreadsheets, and then a fifth one that was like the master. And so it had to compare the master against all of the other Excel spreadsheets. And then on the master, I had to add columns to populate the information from the other ones, but
Yeah.
then reorganize like the workbook into categories, because they weren't split up into categories before. It was all just like one spreadsheet that had like 2,500 items on it or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like I just told it, take this master spreadsheet, compare it to all the others, match the stock numbers, the ones that have new pricing, add it to, like, add new columns that show what the new pricing is, so I can compare the old and the new pricing, and then separate all of it out into the categories that they're supposed to be in, like wood, steel, whatever the different categories were. And yeah, like it did all of that in like a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Isn't that
And that
something?
there was a little bit of back and forth, because
Sure.
there was
It
there
doesn't
was
always
one
get it
point.
right the first time.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. Like I had uploaded everything, but I had referenced the wrong file as the master. And so
Yes.
every time it was like, here's your spreadsheet, and I would open it and I'm like, there's no new, like, how are you telling me that there are no new prices? Because that's the whole point. Like, these are the new prices. And then it turns out it was because I had told it to reference the wrong spreadsheet in the first place. And when I told it that, I was like, oh, actually, you should have been using this as the master. I told you to reference the wrong thing. Then it told me, oh, it's not a big deal, because I can just go ahead and redo it based on everything that you told me before. So I didn't have to repeat myself.
Yes.
It
And
just knew. And I was like, ah.
it makes you realize how bad you are at communication.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, because it's like it does what you say. And then you're like, that's
Exactly.
what I said, but that's not what I meant.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And so,
the fact that because I admitted, oh, I told you to reference the wrong one, you should be referencing this one instead. It recalled my original instructions. I didn't have to
yeah.
repeat myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just unbelievable for things like that. Like I gave it all of my recipes and I said, group I said, here's all my recipes. I want you to help me group my next newsletters based upon this current season. So you know what's in season right now better than I do, and what people want to eat right now better than I do. Go use your knowledge and then group me these recipes for my newsletter. And it just made life so much easier. And,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was a little scary. And I mean, I talked to it like I would, somebody that I'm working with. And so, and I was doing that on purpose because I was like, I wonder how it'll react to me, like saying this kind of stuff. And I said something, something stupid like, "Oh my gosh, you just saved me hours worth of work or whatever." And then it got all excited and it's like, "That's what I'm here for. And I love working with you. You're so clear." And I'm like, "Oh, excuse me."
Yeah, I know. It's just truly it's spectacular. What I have been doing is using it like a business coach.
Okay.
So I uploaded all of the stats I could find, all kinds of stats and data about the blog. And I said, okay, now, because you have all of the knowledge of the best business coaches in the world, what do you think I should do to increase revenue by this much at this time?
Oh, that's such a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just incredible. And it just is really, really good at that kind of stuff. Or like, for example, I've been having it help me with my newsletters. And what I mean by that is I'll say, okay, I want to send a newsletter on this topic. And maybe it helped me pick the topic or maybe it didn't. And I said, okay, here's the headline that I wrote. Now, knowing what you know about psychology, how do I make this a better subject line for this newsletter? And it's just great. It's great at that kind of stuff. And it really helps. So yeah. I love it.
I've been enjoying my my new foray into what ChatGPT can actually, or not just ChatGPT, but what AI can do to help make things easier.
Right.
Because that's all it is. It's a tool to make things easier. It's just like if you go to the library, like you'll utilize the resources there, i.e. the librarians, if you're looking for specific things, right? So basically AI is the librarian. They're going through the library of the internet.
Yeah, that's all they're doing.
Compiling all the resources for you. But it is still your responsibility to kind of dig through it and make sure that, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is how I want to use it.
Well, that's absolutely right. Like, and in this exercise where I'm trying to increase revenue, it gave me all kinds of things, and then I skimmed through all of it and picked out the one piece that resonated with me or made the most amount of sense. And I said, okay, now let's expand on this.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course it's up to me to actually do the work at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a really good research partner, business coach. In the end, you're still the one that has to run the business, but
right.
Yeah, it's been really good. I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
So, okay, where are we at?
Pinterest RPM, and we kind of talked about your note system.
Yeah, we did.
And then the bad advice to a friend who returned her Mac computer.
Oh, God.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay. I have a friend who is going to start a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And she is in a life situation where she is setting up a YouTube studio. So she's buying a desk, a chair, computer, camera, phone, all of everything you ever needed to start basically a whole media thing with YouTube, Facebook, the whole thing, whatever. Yeah. I feel like I need to sneeze. Sorry guys, I'm gonna sneeze at some point. She admittedly doesn't like change very well, even though she's super high tech and super successful. So it's a really funny statement. But regardless, she had bought an iMac and all the Apple stuff, and she's been pure PC her whole life. She's somewhere between my age and your age. And so, she's been PC her whole life, and she's not good at change. But she was like, I'm going to do this thing. So she told me after she had bought everything, and I said, oh, okay. I said, well, which keyboard are you going to use? And she said, well, I want a mechanical keyboard. I said, okay, cool. And so I said, here are the ones that I have. And she's like, well, here's the one that I like. I was like, cool, no problem. Go ahead and get it. I said, here's the note on how to set it up for a Mac. I said, I have the documentation in my new note system. So I sent it to her. And I said, since you've never used a Mac, I'm here for you. Just as you're going through it, it'll probably take you a couple of days to get used to it. No big deal. It's awesome. You're going to love it. And, but apparently the next day, I woke up and she said, I returned all of the Apple stuff and bought a PC because I realized I just didn't want to have to learn something new. And I was like, oh no, that is devastating. I was so sad. And I just felt so bad because Macs are so much better for video editing and all of that. And so now she's going to be doing all of this work on a PC that I know would have been so much better on a Mac. And I feel bad that I scared her away, but oh well.
I will say that I was her a couple of years ago because I was all in on the, Microsoft infrastructure because that's all I knew. And every time I tried to use somebody like troubleshoot or install something on somebody's Mac, it was always such a headache. It was a pain in the butt because it didn't seem friendly because it wasn't something I was familiar with.
Right.
But when I switched to Apple, when I switched to a Mac and I started figuring it out, then all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is better.
Yeah, I know. And I tried to tell her that. And I was just trying to be a supportive friend and be like, okay, first couple of days are gonna be weird, but I'm here for you, you know.
And it's not just a couple of days. Yes, there is a learning curve, but
sure.
Once you figure it out, then it becomes intuitive. It's almost like you have to change the way that you approach the technology. Like
yeah,
the way that you're used to approaching it. Yeah.
I gave her the example. I said, when you download something on a PC, it goes to a temp file, right? And you got to remember which temp file it went. This whole thing, because I've watched Fred do it over and over and over again on his PCs. He'll download something from the internet. I'll be like, okay, can you go get that thing? And he's like, oh God. And
trying to figure out where it went.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean, oh God? Why is this a thing? And then I watched him do it recently, and I was like, what the hell? Because on a Mac, you just download something and it goes to your downloads. Yeah. That's it. The end. It's just there's a downloads folder and it goes there and that's it.
Yep.
And I don't understand what PCs are doing, but that's awful.
Yeah.
But anyway, oh well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know. I felt bad.
It's all good. Well, I think that was it, right?
That's it. I told you it was going to be long. We didn't do our normal 3 things, but do you have anything?
We did like 12.
I know. So do you have anything weird before we go?
No. I guess I talked about my weird things already, which is my irrational anger when it comes to subscriptions.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have anything either, I don't think.
Yeah.
I feel like I should. Okay.
There's always weird things that we share with each other and then forget when it comes
You're
to
right. You're right. Okay. Politics. I'm just going to say one thing and then we can go. If you have money in the stock market, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
And tariffs. That's part of why I
See,
was
now that's 2
GPT
things.
because all of the tariff changes. That was part of it. That was part of the categories that we were trying to figure out. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we need to organize this by the percentage because, oh, here's a politics slash weird thing. Did you know that there are multiple categories of tariffs? Because I did not.
Are the tariffs still happening?
I mean, I think there's a hold for 90 days on specific ones. Maybe.
Yeah, because there's the fentanyl tariff, right?
There's a fentanyl tariff. There's the reciprocal tariff.
There's the it's just Thursday tariff.
There's the the metals tariff. And then there's what was the other one? Oh, the base tariff. So there's base, then there's material, then there's fentanyl, and then reciprocal. The fentanyl tariff, that's the one that I was like, what the hell is a fentanyl tariff? And it's
just typed in the words what tariffs are, and it populated with in effect right now.
Okay. Because people don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought they'd all been paused.
Yeah. Well, but that's the other thing, like so the materials tariff, that's one of the reasons why the inventory spreadsheet was kind of like really cumbersome to have to wade through, is because depending on the material of the product, that determined which tariff would apply to it. Because if it was aluminum or steel, then it was the 22.5%. But if it was aluminum, steel, and something else, then it was potentially a 25%. But then if it was just wood, and then it was 12.5%. And there was no like, right now? Huh?
Are you being serious?
I am being absolutely serious. This is the reason why I was like, ChatGPT, please help.
I know that. Oh, first of all, I shouldn't say I know. I think that computers and iPhones and electronics tariff has been removed.
Yes, but the fentanyl tariff has not been removed from computers and electronics. It's that, is it the base tariff that they removed or the reciprocal tariff? Because like I said,
I think the reciprocal tariff. I think, hold on.
Okay, so the reciprocal tariff
was a tariff removed from iPhones. Let's just start there. Trump exempts smartphones and computers from new tariff. That's right. Okay. So U.S. President Donald Trump administration has exempted smartphones, computers, and some other electronic devices from reciprocal tariffs, including the 125% levies imposed on Chinese products. So when this happened, I told Andy, I said, the only thing that will be still reciprocally tariffed by the time all of this is done will be pencils.
Oh, so I did read I guess it was like the highest tariff was going to be on, or not the highest, but one of the highest was going to be on medical supplies like syringes.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. I think that was in the New York Times.
Yeah, that was New York Times, which was insane to me because like it's a 0% base tariff, a 100% tariff for pre-2025 extra tariff, a 20% fentanyl tariff.
On. What did you just say?
A pre-2025 extra tariff.
What?
That's what it says right here.
You didn't make those words up.
I did not make those words up. It says pre-2025 extra tariff.
Okay, keep going.
And then 125% reciprocal tariff. So the total tariff rate is 245% if you add all of that up.
For syringes.
So it's 2.5 times the cost, roughly, of the product itself.
Did you know that Temu? Did you hear about Temu?
I know about Temu. What about it?
Okay, hold on. Let me get this. We thought we were done. Today, Hold on. This is really fascinating. So I'm going to send you this link.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say while you're sending that, just because like I said, definitions are important to me. So that pre-2025 tariff, right? Those
Yeah.
are taxes introduced during the first Trump administration and expanded during the Biden administration as a way to protect U.S. industries. So that is the pre-2025 protectionist tariff. The base rate tariff is a standard tax applied to imports from the world. The rate depends on the goods. Most rates are low. The steel, aluminum, and auto tariff is the Trump administration imposed 25% tariff on these imports worldwide. And then the fentanyl and reciprocal are the Trump administration imposed tariffs on Chinese goods.
I have such a headache.
So there's just, different kinds. Okay, so this, Temu.
Yeah. So Temu slashes U.S. ad spending, plummets in App Store ranking after Trump China tariffs. So the key points are Temu has pulled back on its online ad spending in the U.S. in the wake of President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs. The Chinese online retailer has also fallen swiftly from the top ranks of Apple's App Store. Temu and rival discount retailer Shein have exploded in the US by going on a marketing blitz. So Temu was shop like a billionaire marketing campaign made its way into last year's Super Bowl and dramatically slashed its online ad spending in the US. And apparently this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Because they apparently partially paid my bills, I guess, by ads. So they're gonna stop selling stuff here, I guess.
Well, I think have you heard about trade war talk?
I think that's what we're doing now.
Yeah, so on TikTok.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Okay, so on TikTok, there's something called the trade war talk. You know how there's book talk. Book talk just means that the algorithm is starting to feed you things that are just book related. So trade war talk is specifically manufacturers in China are showing how some of these big brands, how their products are made, and then teaching them how to purchase it directly from the manufacturer instead of going through the middle person. And it's like 80% less than retail. Like, it's insane. I've seen a couple of them and I'm like, that can't be real, right? And it is.
All right. I heard, I'm not going to get this right. I guess I should look it up real quick, but China is going to stop mailing stuff to us.
Yeah, I briefly saw like a headline about that, but I haven't seen anything else about it or read too much into it. So I am not sure.
Okay, Hong Kong suspends package postal service to the US. I don't even know what that means. It's like, it was just sounded weird. Hong Kong's postal service will stop handling packages coming from or going to the United States. Oh, coming from or going to. Interesting. And the latest retaliatory move amid an escalating trade war. Huh. Fascinating. That's really interesting to me. It's also interesting, and it's also out of my purview. I don't even have feelings about any of this. I'm just watching it all fly by.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Yay.
All right.
Don't go shopping.
Or be careful.
Yeah.
Seriously. Oh my goodness. All righty.
Well, this was a good one.
This was a good one. This one's going to be fun to get the notes.
Oh.
There's going to be so many bullet points.
Yeah.